All right, folks. Let's move on. So, as always, we'll open to our notes, and we've got 2 pages facing us. This goes on the top left. So, it is quarter 1, week 3, and that page is not slipping.
No, it's not.
All right, great. So here it is, September 23rd.
What about homework? I did my homework for the wrong spot.
Yeah, Digger. All right. So today we are talking about the general nervous system. Can folks remind me? Last week we learned about the smallest unit of the nervous system. What was that object called?
A neuron.
That was the neuron. We also talked about the largest object in the nervous system, which was the brain, right? So today we're going to look at all of the accessory parts to the nervous system. So not the smallest unit, the largest unit, but everything that's kind of in between.
Stand it up.
Alright, and in reference to our STAR question, this has been the same kind of question that's appeared on our MCAS exit ticket for the past couple of classes. If anything, by the end of this chapter, you should be able to walk out knowing this crucial bit of information. You want to put the first one? Alright. It'll make its way around. No cherry picking, brothers. First one that comes out.
Sticky.
Alright, yeah, so for this, give us your best answer, whatever you think, wherever it comes to your head, for the STAR question. And then I'll bring that cup over to you.
Oh.
So any words that pop in your head, anything at all? I'll rephrase. Why do we have a brain?
Oh. To send you thoughts.
Alright, great. So we're on the right track there, right?
That's a net.
How are thoughts helpful to us?
Huh?
How are thoughts helpful?
Because you can make guesses about stuff.
And then after you've made a guess or a thought, you can do something, right? Awesome.
It's too early in the morning.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're getting it going, right? So the nervous system's main job, of course, right, is to manage information, to gather information. What are the 5 ways we can be stimulated? Yeah, sorry, Anna.
Sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch.
Great. So, we get those 5 pieces of information from the world around us, and then, like Jerome mentioned, we have a thought about it, and then we act in accordance, right? Can anyone remind me from last week, which part of the brain was the one that makes the decisions on how to act, based on all the information you've gathered from all your senses? It's in the anterior portion of the brain, that's true. Sixth frontal lobe, right? So, so all the information gets channeled to your frontal lobe, right, and then you make decisions. All right, so Jerome, if you could pick someone to read our heart quote.
Raven.
That's actually kind of amazing, right?
I closed my eyes.
So kind, Raven, if you could sing us this song.
Oh, Raven, get that voice on.
The purpose of the nervous system is to organize chaos.
All right, so the purpose of the nervous system is to organize chaos. Who can say more or elaborate, or at least explain what chaos is for those that don't know? Go ahead, Raven, it's still your turn.
Chaos is like everything's crazy. You know, like it's like everything's everywhere.
All right. Right. So some of you might characterize your own lives as being chaotic, right? So, the nervous system's job is to take all this stuff happening around us and organize it, and put it in its right places and figure out what it is we're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. For example, I log into Aspen, and what way are you organized in Aspen? Alphabetical order, right? If I were to open up my Aspen and there was juniors and seniors and sophomores and freshmen all mixed together, and they weren't in numerical order by student number and they weren't in alphabetical order, that would be chaos, right? But instead, we use our brains to organize things, right? Just like we've been organizing our notes with colors, for example. All right, and then as for the homework today, that I'll discuss in the last 15 minutes or so of class. It's a little present, friends. All right, so we're, in today's notes, we're going to do something a little different. So today's notes, there's only going to be 6 vocab words, and they're going to go right under your agenda. We're going to use the whole right page for a big picture today. So, just continuing your notes directly on the left. And we're off and running.
Wait.
10 seconds. Normal. We're just doing a little different today. Yeah. Variety is the spice of life.
Okay, I have a question. So you know how people sometimes like they're declared brain dead? So why don't they like keep them on like support and stuff?
They often do. So when they say someone's brain dead, it means that their nervous system is no longer sending signals to various parts of their body, right? They may not be able to speak or blink. Some of them can't even manage their own heartbeat anymore. So often they're hooked up to machines that make all that stuff happen for them. There was actually, golly, you guys would have been like 4 or 5 when this happened. There was a really big thing 10 years ago. There was this woman, Terri Schiavo, who had been brain dead for years, right? Hooked up to machines. She had something pumping her lungs to get air in. She had something getting her heart going. She couldn't speak. She couldn't blink. She didn't respond in any way to anybody at any time. And this happened to her in her 20s, and she had just been married. So her husband had been waiting for her to come on this thing forever. And finally at this point where he's like, I kind of want to move on with my life, right? Like, I've got this wife, she's in this bed, she hasn't done a thing for years. So he, using his legal power, wanted to have all the plugs pulled. But her parents fought him on it. So there was a huge lawsuit, and it was a big public media explosion, and like,
Yeah, because doctors like even though they say even though your heart's beating, like if your brain's not working, you're technically dead. I don't
Yeah.
understand that.
yeah, so Shalane, what do you want to add?
No, it's a question. So did they pull the plugs?
In the end, the husband did win the legal battle. Yeah.
The husband technically killed his wife.
Well,
Oh, was it?
No.
Was it
So,
that she was already
you, what's the expression you've just been using?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it that woman whose husband killed the mother didn't want to pull the plug?
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
What
Right.
was that?
And just for your own thoughts, right? If you haven't like blinked or thought or eaten or listened to any music or moved in 10 years, are you still alive?
No.
Yes.
You're a zombie.
Is her heart beating?
No.
She's a vegetable.
So physically, that person might be surviving, right? They're alive, but is it a life? Right. So this is a personal question that you can answer for yourself. Like I can't tell you a right or wrong answer for it. All right, but there are some things I can tell you, and that's what we're going to do today. All right, so we're going to start off with our first note of the day, the central nervous system. I should also add that, as you might remember from some of your classes yesterday, the internet was down. So the other classes got this all like with me writing on the board and my somewhat illegible handwriting. Yes. No colors right now. We're going to do that just for the diagram later. You'll see something magical is happening today.
I don't like magic.
All right, so when you hear the word central, what do you think of immediately? Central, some synonyms? The middle of, right? So we'll come back to that in a moment. So central is responsible for sending, for receiving, for interpreting information from all the parts of the body, right? So information is constantly traveling back and forth via your... Oh, some naughty things are happening.
I can clearly hear you.
Do I need to take the device? So again, we would all like to be pleasuring ourselves with the music of our choice right now, but unfortunately we have to wait until 3 o'clock for that. All right, so given just the very nature of the name, central, what part of the nervous system do you think we're talking about here? The center, which is the? What's all the stuff in the middle of our body? That's nerves, made of nerves. Lots of little neurons stuck together.
Wait, hold on, I got a diagram.
Our brain and our
Spine.
spinal cord. Excellent, right? So the central nervous system is made up of the brain and spinal cord. The word central gives it away, meaning in the center of. And like we talked about last week, the neurons are sending individual signals to each other, which accumulate in the brain. If you look at the poster in the back behind Shalani and Andre, right, you'll see that I took two things. I took one stretch of those neurons and made a long nerve. I also bunched a cluster of them, just like the brain would be. So using the models we made last week,
Wait, so that's fine.
that could be very similar, yeah, right? Kind of like the spinal cord. It's a long set of nerves going in a similar direction, right? Excellent, yeah.
Is that why when you have an injury to the spine, you're paralyzed?
Indeed, right? This information can't get from one place to another. All right, so, yeah. Yeah. So we're going to learn about what parts are connected to what today, actually. Whoa, she's ahead of us. All right, Raven, I'm having you go house will stay. Again, just keep that one out then, off to the side. That's right. If it's in there, just leave it in there. Oh, all right. So, Rebecca, have you ever heard of peripheral vision? Have you ever heard of peripheral vision? All right. Does someone want to help her out with that? Shalani, please.
Isn't it when you see to the side, like to how far your eyes can go to the sides?
It's to the sides, right? Right, so peripheral, perimeter. Right, so peripheral always means to the side of. So that leads us to the next part of our nervous system. And next pull will be yours. Right, so the peripheral nervous system are all the nerves that are on the sides of the central nervous system. It's all the nerves that are, wrapped around your organs. It's all the nerves that go down to your toes. The poster I have in the back there with those neurons clustered up, that's what looks like a ganglia. A ganglia is just a cluster of nerves together. That was also in our homework reading. So,
Can the ganglia turn into a tumor?
so any cell can mutate and potentially, right, become cancerous. All right, so peripheral nervous system, nerves and the ganglia and clusters that come off the brain, come off the spinal cord, and they connect to all the limbs. What are limbs, folks?
Your body.
Your arms.
Well, your body, you have your central body, and then your limbs are your
Your arms.
arms and your legs, all the stuff hanging off of your body, everything that's on the periphery, on the outside. Right, so these two things make up the major anatomy of the nervous system. So, like, what we call the physical part of the nervous system. Oh, just testing out your nerves. Right. And you may have at some point gotten an eye test where they tested your peripheral vision, like they held something further and further from the side of your head and asked you at what point you can't see it anymore. All right, so the central topic was, the central nervous system was basically the brain that we talked about most of last week. Peripheral nervous system relates more to the neurons and lots of the long stretches, like the one Raven pointed out is looking like the spinal cord. So we kind of are just combining all of our topics now. So now we're going to talk about some more of the physiological functions of the nervous system as opposed to just the anatomy that we've talked about so far. All right, and I've only got 2 folks left writing, so I'm going to move on. They know where to get it in the various places, such as the website and or a neighbor. All right, so, and the first 2 are really little up top. Don't worry about those. That was just to keep them organized. All right, now, nerves come in different types. So we have what are known as somatic nerves. So I'm going to give you a little hint here. So the prefix soma kind of refers to the whole or the body of. And sometimes it does appear in the MCAS, so I just want to make sure folks know how to interpret it. Right? So somatic nerves are nerves that consciously control skeletal muscle, as well as any external sensory organ. So all the nerves that are connected to your skin, for example. On a cold day, what observations have people made about their skin and the hair on it and whatnot? Yes. After a long period of cold, they might get really dry, right? Skin flakes might come
You
up.
change colors.
All right, right, so the blood vessels may sink down further to keep warm, yeah. You might get goosebumps, right? So think about that, there are nerves and muscles connected to the skin that are controlling those shapes and movements and variations. And we're going to talk way about that in chapter 6. Yeah. The next, yeah, so these nerves will, right, they'll send out that signal, hey, you're really warm, the pore needs to open up, and like sweat should come out, right? The big thing about somatic nerves is this idea of conscious control. Now, does anyone remember when we did our brain dissection last week? What were kind of the two colors we saw in the brain? There were white areas, and what else? And like a grayish-brown area, right? The grayish-brown area were these somatic nerves. These are the nerves where thoughts kind of occur. Right, so you probably noticed that a lot of the region of the cerebrum, the upper part, was that gray area. Right, and that's where where we make decisions and where we send out signals for things to happen. We also have those white-looking ones, perhaps, which are our autonomic nerves. And we actually talked about the prefix and suffix autonomic last week. So Rebecca's going to pull a popsicle stick from the cup.
No.
And if it's the same person, it's Rebecca. Line up for the... Sheila?
What happened?
Hi.
What was the question?
Can you remind us what auto means, or autonomic? We did cover it last week as part of our notes in a word.
I remember nomic, but auto isn't auto like by itself.
Great. So auto is self. Awesome. Right? So self. And nomic meant to manage.
It was the wrong name.
Oh, it is. All right. Next time she'll know to be louder. She wants her voice to be heard.
Yes, say it loud.
All right. But either way, we'll still make it her turn next. All right. So self-managing. So these are the nerves that control all the involuntary things, right? So rather than conscious control like our somatic, this is all the stuff that happens on its own. A good example of that being cardiac muscle, which is of course the muscles of the which organ?
Heart.
The heart, right? Right, so you don't have to consciously will your heart to beat. It self-manages, right? It beats on its own. Otherwise, right, if you fell asleep at night, it would just stop pumping, right? So this thing needs to happen on its own. What else, what other stuff happens on its own? We talked a little bit about this last week. What are things that... So you write your lungs expand and contract through breathing. Good teamwork between Raven and Brianna there. What are some other things that just kind of are happening in your body at all times that you don't have to conscious of? Blinking, right? So if something startles you, you might blink. What about food? If I, drop a bunch of food into my stomach, do I have to consciously will it to digest?
No.
No, right? All that action happens on its own chemically and mechanically, which we'll talk about in chapter 7. All right, so let's move on to our next slide. And here we go.
How many more words do you have?
2 more. If you fill up the bottom of the left, it's okay to go on the right. Yeah. All right, so parasympathetic nervous system. There's one more after this. If you need to go on to the right, it's cool. Yeah, this slide will be the last slide. All right. Now, some of you can actually help me out with this too. What are some jobs that begin with the prefix para?
Paramedic.
There's paramedics. Who helps out lawyers? Paraphrase, right? That's links in. Paragraph. Excellent. Keep them coming. Does anyone know what's the name of that person who helps out a lawyer in a law office? They work in law offices. Usually help lawyers out. There's paralegals. I haven't heard paralegal before.
Paralegal.
Oh yeah. Right. So para usually means like in assistance of, or as a helper of, or on the side of, right? So like when you think of paraphrasing, right? The person who first wrote that sentence is helping you out with the meaning, then you just kind of like rearrange, right? Our Latin-rooted speakers in the room, those who know like Spanish or Portuguese, can maybe tell us what simpatico means, or sympathetic. To feel, right? So, excellent, right? So if we look at this word, we're talking about the persistence of feelings. So the parasympathetic nervous system controls all the various functions of your body, such as maintaining your heart rate, such as, measuring how contracted or dilated your pupils should be, such as keeping your bladder contracted throughout the day, right? Right, so there's a lot of stuff that's happening in your body that kind of stays the same most of the time, right? Like your anus is generally in a closed position, right? Unless you consciously will it to do otherwise. And that's maintained by the parasympathetic nervous system. We're going to kind of add to this, and we're going to say that your parasympathetic state is kind of your normal state. And what was the expression we've used a couple times that relates to everything in the body being in balance? So there's the prefix means sane, and the suffix means equilibrium. You want to try it out? It's a major topic. Of course, we actually start our check-in with it every day. What's the name of our check-in? At the very, everyone knows the heading? Homeostasis, right? Your parasympathetic nervous system is what maintains your homeostasis. It's what manages a particular rhythm for your heart and a particular rhythm for your breathing. What's something we're losing all day and constantly replacing? Water. It tells your body like how much, if you've got enough water, right? So it maintains your homeostasis. Now, are things always perfect, normal, and lovely in life?
No.
No, sometimes we're in situations that
Suck.
that could be one way of putting it. Sure. Can we go from that general statement to some more specific ones? What are some situations that are less agreeable? You might be you're crossing the street, you hear some tires screech, you are in trouble, danger, right? Someone says something to you you don't like, you become angry, right? So, all right, I'm just going to wipe that part off. Now, if you are in a situation where you kind of go into that angry, excited, dangerous state, you enter what's known as the sympathetic nervous system.
How do you go from 1 to 8?
Subheadings.
Exactly.
All right, so what happens when the sympathetic nervous system kicks in? This particular physiology is about speeding up your heart rate. It's about accelerating your metabolism so you burn more calories quicker. Your pupils dilate, which means what?
They get bigger.
They get bigger, right? They open up a lot. Your bladder relaxes. We've all been scared and or angry before. When you're scared or angry, your heart rate speeds up, right? When you are scared and or angry, your body temperature increases as you're burning more sugars, you metabolize more, right? You produce more energy. Right. Why would your pupils dilate if you're in a scared or angry state? Yeah, Ashley.
Does it dilate when you're
I can see from back here.
Oh, you want me to move the whole thing up?
Yeah. What?
No problem. I'm just abiding by a student request. Oh. Oh, one too many. Okay, so, all right, so, right, so these, and some animals, when they're scared or upset or even excited, sometimes they release their urine, right? So maybe at some point in your life, you were laughing really hard, or you were really scared, and a little pee sneaked out, right? It happens. Right, so the sympathetic nervous system is involved in what's known as the fight or flight response. And that's a common expression. So our cup holder is going to pull a name to look up. Oh, he's a different section. Yeah, put that one aside for me. Thank you. Yeah, the first week of school, everyone's schedules were a little mixed up. Oh, she's already gone. There we go. Hi. All right, Michaela, have you ever heard this expression, fight or flight?
What?
Have you ever heard this expression before, fight or flight response?
Like,
All right, so I'm in a situation that I deem as threatening, right? What might I do? I just ask you to expand on those a little bit.
Fight.
I might try to run, I might try to get away, flight, or I might try to attack, right? And fight or flight is a very common, right, primal instinctual response. Something threatens or upsets you, you want to either get away from it or attack it. How do we as humans respond differently than other animals in reference to fight or flight? Please. All right, good. She used some really good language there, right? So, because we're human and not like other animals, we're not like wolves or, cats or something. If we get really angry or upset if someone offends us, we don't necessarily attack them or run away from them. We try to use our words to resolve the conflict, right? So a big part of becoming an adult is kind of learning how to just suck it up, right? It's like learning just how to be like, all right, I don't like what I'm hearing, I don't like what I'm seeing, but I gotta just stay and be present with it. Huh? Yeah. All right. Now, in reference to the activity we're gonna do today, I'm gonna model it first so that everyone has the best opportunity to be successful. But first I'll go over the directions. And what we're going to be doing today is on the right side of your notes, which you've left large and open, we're going to be doing a drawing of the body. We're going to be then playing... No one has to do it yet.
I am not Leonardo da Vinci. I cannot draw.
You should never say, I cannot or I will not. You should always be, I can and I will.
I can just think
All right, so we're going to be playing this game online where you connect different parts of the body to the nervous system, right? So let's say it starts with the knee. You're going to figure out which parts of the knee connect to which parts of the spinal cord or brain. We're going to do the drawing together, and then I'm going to model... Ladies, it's my turn. Great, so we're going to do the drawing together, and then I'm going to model what the website looks like. That way nobody has to have any questions or confusion. All right, so first off, all of my fine, adorable little students are going to open their books to page 98.
Wait, what'd you say?
Page 98, please. Page 98. You know where they are? Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm already
Healthy young adults. Ladies,
That was her.
as a young adult, you have full self-control. She is not your boss. Next time she turns around, you just give her one of those, right? 98. All right, tell me what you see on page 98, folks. What do you think has to happen on the right side of your notes?
You gotta draw that.
Or,
Trace it.
excellent. You also want to have the addition of legs on your picture. If you feel like you're not capable of drawing legs, you can also find a full page body on page 203. So I'll just throw that out there. But either way, we need an outline of the whole body on the right side of your notes. If you don't have a book, you know where to get them. Awesome. I'm just looking around the room. Yeah.
There's no body on the
Right.
202 then? 202, 203?
No. It's about self-defense.
Hold on.
Give it an accurate.
Oh, 230. 230.
What is it? What is this?
Yeah, I had the right numbers, but in the wrong sequence. Yeah, 230 has a full-size body. 230. Thanks, folks. All right. Yeah. So basically, we had a brain, that hole went through a section of the brain, destroying all those parts of it. And because of all the nerves in the brain make up the brains of who you are, if you lose some of those, it changes long as you wind up with a full body at the end. Feet, hands, all of it.
Hey, you can draw.
All right.
Are we chasing a woman?
It doesn't really matter as long as you have a full body on your paper. That's all that matters to me.
Is that a man or?
I need the
It's gender fluid.
What is it? So like.
All right, so everyone should have a full-size figure.
Wait, I don't have.
Enjoy your last week of sitting together, ladies. It's on Monday.
That's
That will
not
not
real.
see.
Do not do it.
You like things far from me as possible, Raven? Yeah, I take that personally. All right, so again, you should have you're putting a full-size figure. If you're using the one from 98, just to add some legs. If you're doing the one from 230, then you got the whole thing ready to go. Here, I'll put those up here, just for those that are still figuring it out. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to put on the regions of the spinal cord and the brain as a color-coded diagram, and then we're going to connect structures of the body to it. So, one of the things you should have on your table, and if you don't, now's your time to get it, is the usual thing, the rainbow, Roy G. Biv. Right? So if you don't have that, you know where the colored pencils are. They should have been left on your table from yesterday.
No, I have this.
Yeah. Although I have been noticing a lot of my colored pencils seem to keep finding their way to the parking lot after school. And as I leave, I'm finding trails of them. Note that they are mine and stay here. All right. So, because that's the order those colors come in on the rainbow. Right, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, red. All right, most folks are almost there, so we're going to take in the bottom right corner of our picture, we're going to be writing 5 words, so put that in a box. Looking good, Raven. All right, so, I'm going to make mine bigger just because you guys have to see it from a distance. But you only need 5 words in a box. We're going to call that box the key. All right. All right, so in the bottom right corner, you're going to make a key for our words that we'll be using today. And
Do we have to draw an actual key? Do we have to draw an actual
no, it's just to drive the point home. All right, so before we start our computer activity, we have to actually know what the regions of the spine are in order for the whole thing to make sense. So this will be the last piece of our instruction this morning before you guys are on your own. All right, you're going to take your purple pencil, the pencil that is purple, or your marker or your pen or whatever you're using today as your favorite pen. And in your purple pencil pen, marker, whatever, lipstick, whatever you like, you're going to write the word cranial in purple. Yep. And right, so we're writing the word cranial in purple, and then we're going to draw the brain, and just the brain, in that same color purple. So that's our cranium, or cranial, and that is in purple. So all the nerves of the brain are what is known as cranial nerves. So we've written the word cranial in purple, Ariana, and then we've drawn the brain in purple in our person. Way to go. Shazam. All right, next up, we're going to talk about the nerves that connect from your brain just to the base of your throat. So in our blue pencil, marker, lipstick, whatever you're using, you're going to take your blue and you're going to write cervical. And again, that is in blue. Remember, I have a limited number of colors, so I have to repeat, right? And then the blue part, the cervical nerves, go right down here. So just from the brain to the base of the throat, we have our cervical nerves. So we've got our cranial nerves in purple. We have our cervical nerves in blue. All right, cool. Next up, you're going to grab your green. This word is in purple, and you drop it in purple. Okay, so now we're going to take our green, and we're going to write the word thoracic. So it's T-H-O-R, like Thor. A-C-I-C, thoracic. So T-H-O-R-A-C, T-H-O-R-A-C, T-H-O-R-A-C-I-C, thoracic. All right, and that was, of course, in green. And we're going to connect our spinal cord to just about under the ribs. So just to the place where the ribs start to come in and become the waist. And that is our thoracic. I'll put a little T there. So this is the part of the nervous system that goes from the base of the neck to just about the bottom of the lungs. All right, 2 more to go. All right, so for number 4, some folks might actually even know the name of this section of the spinal cord. Maybe they know someone in their life who's had an injury here and where it has a special pillow they put in their seats. Does anyone know what the curve of the back is called? Sometimes you get a special pillow to put there.
The vertebrae.
The bones are the vertebrae, and that section of bones starts with this letter. Have you ever heard of a lumbar pillow before?
What?
Lumbar?
Is it those extra soft ones?
Yeah. Right, so that's going to be our lumbar. We're doing that in orange. So grabbing your orange. So taking your orange. Now the lumbar is just going to go to just below the waist. So just like the belt line, pretty much.
I gotta take a razor.
All right, and that's our lumbar. You want to make some Boston accent?
You have to make it.
Pretty good, right? Yeah. And based on our whole usual Roy-G-Biv equation, what color is going to be next? Red, right? So using your red pencil, using your red pencil. Thank you, Dylan. Is our last part, and those are the sacral nerves. Sacral nerves. All right, so those are our sacral nerves. And just finish off your spinal cord, right? With your sacral nerves, that little red spot. Yeah, and it connects right down to the base of your tailbone. Indeed. All right, so at this point, you should have your purple cranial nerves. You should have your blue cervical nerves, your green thoracic nerves, your orange lumbar nerves, and your red sacral nerves. All right, now, okay, cool. I'm going to demo the activity now so folks will know what it looks like. First, I'll do it on this, then we'll all do it together on the computer the first time around. What will happen in this activity today is you will be given sets of muscles, right? So let's say they ask you about extensor digitorum, a muscle that's in your forearm. So they'll say, where did the extensor digitorum go? And they'll have a muscle on the side of the screen. You'll drag it onto the arm, and then after it attaches, it'll give you a line. And what you do is you feel out all the parts of the spinal cord to figure out where that arm muscle attaches. Does it attach right to the cranial nerves? Does it attach to the cervical? Does it attach to the lumbar? So on and so forth. Where do folks expect that a muscle that's in the arm would attach to in the spinal cord? Which zone?
Your shoulder.
Your elbow.
The thoracic, you'd expect, right? So let's just say that is correct, right? So what you'll end up doing is taking the color of thoracic and you'll connect those nerves to it. And then what it'll say, there'll be a little box in the... It can wait, right? We're not writing this right now. This is just an example I'm giving you. Right? You're not, yeah, you don't have to write this. This is just for show.
You could have said that before.
Well, if you want to write it, and I won't stop you. Right? And then what it'll give you is this little do no box, and then it'll say, oh, the extensor temporal nerves, whoops, connect to the thoracic, right? So you'll wind up with the nerves drawn in the right color. You'll wind up explaining what muscle or what object of the body is. Some of you will get liver, some of you will get toe, and what part it's attached to. And like, you know, just to have it done, right? Let's say it's a muscle of the leg, it might attach to the lumbar, right? So you'll draw those nerves, and you'll say X muscle nerves attached to the lumbar. All right, cool. Let's grab the computers and I'll do the first part together. There's some computers on this side of the room. You only need one per table, so you're going to be doing the same thing with your partner. For you guys, just the door on the right. The ones on the left aren't right. So to provide you with the best opportunity to be successful, we'll all do the first one together. That'll make everything super easy for everybody. Sure, if you've got your bathroom pass, I'm happy to sign it.